Hello, welcome to This Is Me Speak Your Truth podcast. I am Tracy, I'm your host, and I am lucky to have my guest today, Christy. And Christy and I don't really know too much about each other, but we are in a business coaching group together. And so, Christy, how about you share just a bit of your background, some stuff for us to get to know you a bit better?
Well, I'm Christy. Excuse me. I am a shadow work coach. I've been doing shadow work for around, we'll say 9 years. Time is weird, so like I don't know, couldn't tell you the exact time, but I want to say 9 years. I've been doing shadow work, which led me down this path of wanting to provide that service to other people and just really being passionate about this particular way to really dive into your trauma and let it go and release it and integrate it and love it. And so I became a shadow work coach. I started coaching other people through similar process that I went through. I started helping people figure out how to do mirror work. I had light language come in. I don't know what about my story. Is there anything specific you want to know about my story? Like I can
Yeah,
go
I
more
think, yeah,
into
like
it.
whatever you're willing and open to chat about. So, like, when you say like your process or like kind of your story, like what you went through, like what
Mhm.
is shadow work, or can you like explain a bit more of that, or how you got pulled into doing shadow work?
Yeah, so a shadow in the most basic way that I can explain it is just trauma. Trauma that we have decided to ignore to some extent and put away in a box and pretend it's not there and shove it down and hide it and bury it and pretend it's just in the back of our closet,
Yeah.
not doing anything. And so it becomes this shadow, it becomes this voice, this thought, this feeling, this emotion in the back of our mind that is like, this isn't safe. This is scary. Why are you doing this? Every time you go to grow and do something new and do something challenging, it's that voice in the back of your mind. And sometimes it shows up as your ego. Sometimes it shows up as an inner child. Sometimes it shows up as a past life version of yourself. It could be anything, but it's a shadow that we have chosen to ignore and put away. And it's trying to really just gain attention. And so to do the shadow work is to take it out of that box, take it out of that closet, look at it, see it, love it, know it, acknowledge it, and give it the space, bring it to the light so it has the space to be seen. Because at the end of the day, who doesn't want to be seen? Who doesn't want to be fully authentic in what they are, even if that is a very traumatic version of themselves? Who doesn't want to be fully vulnerable and present? So that is what shadow work is. It's just allowing the space for yourself to be vulnerable with yourself and loving that part of yourself and giving that part of yourself the love that it always deserved. So if we want to go, I could go all the way back to childhood. I'm gonna start with like the 9 years ago because
Hey,
I
yeah,
definitely have stuff in childhood, but we'll go
yeah.
with what really jumped me into my own journey. And so about 10 years ago, I was in a relationship. It was, I don't necessarily want to call it abusive, but in some aspects it was. And he obviously not great at the time. He decided we were going to be on a break. And within a week, he had started sleeping with someone else because we were on a break. So he basically pulled a Ross from Ross and Rachel.
Yeah.
Um, and so after a month, he finally ended the relationship. And I recognize now he just didn't have the guts to end the relationship when he wanted a break and
Yeah.
he thought that would soften the blow. But like, no, you basically just cheated on me. So that led me into this space, which resulted into me moving back in with my mom, me then helping my mom, uh, who ended up staying with my grandma for a period of 6 months because my uncle was in hospice at her house. Um, and over that 6 to month time span, and I will say like 8 months, but starting in April, 3 days before my birthday, my cousin passed away. And then over the next 8 months, I had five other family members and close friends pass away. And
Wow.
so I fell into I fell into a hole, a depression. Like I
Yeah.
dove deep and I stopped, I took a break from grad school. I did all of these things. I'm like, I feel like I am drowning. And I was just miserable because at that point in time, I was like, I've been to so many funerals. I know how to do grief. I get this. And then I had grief back to back to back to back to back.
Yeah, a lot of
And
loss.
I did not completely realize that I wasn't actually dealing with the grief. I wasn't going through it. And then I had all of this stuff that I went through from my childhood to back up that grief and create this hole of pit of depression. And I quite literally, I felt like I was drowning. And so a friend of mine was like, why don't you come to this meditation class? So I went to this meditation class. It was a group meditation, but it was different. It involved a lot of energy work. She paired people up together, which, like, you fed off of those energies. And she ended up becoming a mentor. And over that next year, I dove so deep into myself and experienced so much anger behind that depression and started to really like look at myself from the lens of these things haven't been expressed my entire life. And now, even though I am a hot mess express, I am expressing all of them because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, when you are suppressing and hiding and putting all of those boxes away in the closet, when you're doing all of that, it gets to a point where you're not allowing yourself to really feel what it is that you are meant to feel. You're not feeling the anger. You're not feeling the sadness. You're not feeling those emotions. And so when you do go to feel them, it's going to be messy. You're not going to be good at communicating. You
Yeah.
are going to say things you don't mean or that hurts other people's feelings. And it's just watching that whole process and allowing it to unfold was really important for me, and allowing myself to see that and hold the space for myself while I did it, and then get to this space where after a year, I just energetically started shedding weight. I was around the time I was around 240 pounds. And I just energetically, just the weight started melting off because I was letting go of all of this stuff that
Yeah.
no longer served me. And as I did that, that led us into COVID,
Mm.
where as we went into COVID, I got off of all of my antidepressants, all of my medication because I didn't need it anymore because I had shed everything that was requiring that medication. I got off um, I started intuitive eating, which, if you really do intuitive eating in the, I'm going to say spiritual, but more of the energetic way, I guess is a better way to put it. You're really paying attention to what am I feeling when I eat this? What am I feeling after I eat this? What am I feeling before I eat this? What texture, like, do I like the texture, do I like the sounds, do I like you're really like in what you are eating and you are paying attention to every nuance and every feeling and every emotion as you go through it.
Yeah.
And so I did all of that as COVID started, and I was then separated from community and shut off into this space. And I had all of these feelings again come up, and I immediately started gaining all of the weight back and then proceeded to gain even more. And so I ended up past 270. I don't know the exact weight I ended up at.
Yeah.
Um, because I never weighed myself to like check.
Hmm.
When I did finally weigh myself, I had started noticing changes in my body, and so it was less than what I had actually weighed, but we were past 270, that I can
Yeah.
say. So I had gained all of that back because allowing myself to truly intuitive eat meant that I needed to allow myself to witness what I was feeling in the moment, understanding that, yes, I am binge eating right now because I am feeling all of this and I am feeling all of that and I am feeling all of that. And I need to hide and protect myself. So I'm going to eat more food
Yeah.
and letting myself do that, because that is intuitive eating at that point in state and like understanding and just being in that awareness. And as I continued to work with my mentor, the more work I did, all of a sudden the switch flipped and I stopped binge eating because I let go of that need to be safe.
Yeah. It's like using the food as like the therapy and medication and comfort.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I needed to watch myself do that, understanding that is not healthy, understanding that is not what I should be doing. I still allowed myself to go through the process because I need to be aware that this is what I'm feeling when I do this. So I know when it happens in the future, how to not do this and
Yeah.
how to allow myself to feel what I need to feel without eating the food. But I can't do that if I don't experience it first.
That makes sense.
So I allowed myself to go through the process. The switch flipped and I sat in that weight for about a year and a half. And it's not that I wasn't active because I was still at the time going to jujitsu and stuff like that. I just sat with that weight. The weight didn't move because it was, again, it was energetic. It wasn't
Mhm.
related to food. It wasn't related to health. It was related to, I needed to keep myself safe because I now no longer have antidepressants to back me up. I have this weight.
Yeah.
I have this weight. This weight is my protection, not the medication. And as I continued to move through that, I then found myself, my mentor and my entire friend group at the time exited my life for different reasons, one right after the other over like a month or two. And for the next couple of months at this point in time, and this was about, I believe, 4 years ago now, my grandma was in hospice. And I would see my grandma once a week. I would get her groceries. I would clean her house. I would do all of these things for her. She was my bestie. And I did all of this stuff for her. So I knew it was going to happen soon. She was 94. I'm like, I can't expect you to live much longer.
Yeah.
You've been kicking
Good,
it for
good
a while
life.
and you've been talking about not being around much longer for like 15 years. So it is what it is. So
Yeah.
I knew it was going to happen, and like even before she got into hospice, I started to experience this extreme grief because energetically I could just feel it. I could feel that she was going, I could feel that it was getting close to her time. And I was grieving before we even got the news she was in a hospice. And then so while she was in hospice, she had me do Reiki for her. I was doing Reiki on her legs because it was the only thing that helped the pain. It was the only thing that made her comfortable. And eventually she did pass. The morning I got the call, I have you can see all of my house plants. I have a hibiscus plant that was the first year I had a hibiscus plant, and it wasn't doing well when I brought it inside for the winter. And I couldn't figure out why it wasn't doing well. But on the morning, and I like walked out of my bedroom, I'm in my one bedroom apartment. I'm looking at the window, I'm looking at the hibiscus plant, and it has a bloom, and I'm like, fuck,
Well,
fuck.
yeah.
And literally 2 minutes later, my mom calls me and she's like, Grandma's passed away. And I'm like, okay, I'll be there in like 10 minutes. And then I'm like on the highway, it's raining. I'm trying to stay calm because I'm driving in the rain. And the Kelly Clarkson song comes on. What song was it? The one,
Like stronger or something?
no, it's like
Um,
where it says like you'll get your wings and fly. Like it's the sad one.
oh,
You know what I
I
can't
think,
even
yeah, I
remember
can't
the
think of it right
name,
now. Yeah.
but and I can look it up if we need to, but like that song came on and I'm like, fuck, grandma, you've got jokes. You're sitting here sending me this song and I'm sobbing and I'm on the highway, it's raining, and then I get all the way to my grandma's house to help my mom, and I'm like, I don't even have my phone. I have to drive all the way
Oh
home to get my
no.
phone. So by the time I got there, like my mom just wanted to sit and wait and calm down for a bit. But I, just like I did with my uncle, ended up calling like the hospice nurse to have them come do whatever they needed to do. So my mom didn't have to do that. But that was the biggest grief portal I have ever been through, and it was quite literally a portal. I found myself because I did eventually, go back to grad school. I did finish my master's in art and all of that, got a master's in children's book illustration. I had been working on a painting for pretty much the entire time since I had moved out of my mom's house. Um, which I did while I was still working with my mentor. And I'm in my 1 bedroom apartment. And for the longest time, I had this canvas just hanging on the wall. It was white. It
Wow.
sat there for a year. It was just white. I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And then I moved into this 1 bedroom apartment. I didn't have a roommate anymore. And I finally painted the background. And then nothing happened. It sat on the wall. It was just the background. And then my grandma passed away. And I finally ended up completing the whole painting. And I was like, I just went through a whole portal. I just, all of these things shifted. And at the time, I was alone. I had my family, sure, but I'm not super close to my family. We've never been, I don't go to them when I have problems and stuff like that. I go to friends, and I did not
Mhm.
have any friends that I could go to and be like, my grandma just died. I was by myself. So I was literally like blood, sweat, and tears into this painting, going through this portal, feeling all of this grief in a way I had never felt it before. And I'm in this 1 bedroom apartment. I did not have friends for a full year, a little over a year. After that happened, that entire year in that apartment with what was at the time 2 cats, I have 3 cats now, um, uh, was a portal because I started to develop my form of shadow work. I had a mentor for a couple of years. She showed me a path. I started to learn Reiki. I started to learn Akashic Records. I finished my master's. I did all of these things. And then I'm in this 1 bedroom apartment by myself, no one to lean on, no one to depend on for over a year. And I'm like, how do I do this? How do I feel these things? How do I set these boundaries? How do I start to like get myself back out there and allow myself to call in the people I actually want in my life?
Yeah.
How do I have fun when I'm quite literally alone? And I found mirror work. I found candle magic. I found meditation. I found all of these. I just explored so many things in different avenues on what can I do? I'm feeling this. How do I express this? How do I call in this thing? I want this. And so my grandma had passed away. I started going through all of this and I really wanted to buy her house.
Hmm.
I chose not to buy her house because with the help of another mentor who I don't work with nearly as often, I maybe work with her once or twice a year. Um, with the help of her, she was like, well, the way I see it, you're attached to the house because of all of these memories, of all of these childhood experiences. And maybe moving into that house is more nostalgic for you and is going to cause you more to regress than it will to progress.
Interesting
And
perspective.
I'm like, you're probably right, actually.
Yeah.
That feels accurate. And the house was out of my budget and needed a decent amount of work.
Hmm.
So I remember sitting down with my brother and he was doing a session with me. Um, and we were talking afterwards, and I was giving him some advice on an action step he could take. And I was like, and then we started talking about me buying my grandma's house. And I'm like, I'm not going to buy her house, but I will have a house by the end of the year. And he's like, you don't have any money. And I'm like, I know, but I'm going to have a house by the end of the year. And he's like, okay, I believe you. And I'm like, I believe me too. I'm going to have a house by the end of the year. And so I kept going down the path. I kept following my instincts. I didn't really do much in regards to buying a house throughout the year, but then I got to the point where I had to re-sign my lease for my apartment. And I'm like, I want to go month to month. And they're like, okay. So I went month to month. And I'm like, I don't even know why I said I want to go month to month, but I went month to month.
Yeah.
And then I just suddenly started looking at houses on Google, on Zillow. I just started
Yeah.
Googling houses. And that was in October. I at like the start of October, and within a week, I had put in an offer on a house because the
Incredible.
lender I worked with had basically told me that because I had just finished grad school in my state, they offer a grant to new graduates. And so I got a grant towards my down payment, which meant I didn't actually need a down payment because
Yeah.
I had a grant to cover the down payment. And I'm like, okay, I don't have any money, but the grant covers my down payment. Let's just look at houses and see what I find. So I find a house and it didn't work out. Someone offered to buy it like in cash for,
Yeah.
so they just were like, okay, let's do it because otherwise it takes like 30 days to finish everything. And then I'm like looking at other houses and like looking online. I'm talking to my realtor and I'm like, this one, it's 2 bedrooms and it's pretty cheap. The price just went down. She's like, yeah. I'm like, the pictures are atrocious, but why don't we give it a look? And literally both me and my realtor walk in the house and we look around and we look at each other and at the same exact time we were like, whoa. And I'm like, I think I found my house and I hadn't even like looked at
That's
it. And
incredible.
here
Such a cool story.
here we are, three years later. I'm still in my house.
Yeah.
But that is all to show like I had all of this progress like 9 years ago. I was literally drowning, like quite literally felt like I was underwater. Slowly started to allow myself to feel what I had shoved away in my closets and hidden away, feel those shadows, express those shadows, allow them out in the open, give them the space they needed to communicate, be fully present. And eventually they subsided and they trusted me in the sense that I'm going to feel these as I need to feel them. It's going
Yeah.
to be okay. And I was able to get to a point where I worked with the mentor and I eventually moved out of my mom's house and I moved into an apartment with a roommate. And after a year, I moved into a one bedroom apartment where I stayed for 2 more years. And that second year, I was quite literally by myself, taking everything I learned and turning it into my own methods, my own process, my own experience. I apparently just got steps in while I was
Oh,
talking. Um, and sorry, my Fitbit
yeah,
vibrated.
it's like
I'm like,
shaking
what's
your
happening?
wrist. Yeah. Mm.
And I did all of these things, and then slowly, as my grandma passed, I'm like, okay, I know how to feel my feelings in the moment now. I can allow them to express themselves in a healthy way instead of just shoving them down, and sent myself through a portal where I created this giant painting and then sent myself through another portal where I started to manifest things that I wanted in my life, which was my house. And then 3 months after my house, I manifested my boyfriend. And then and like a month after that, I had friends come in who I'm still friends with to this day and I love dearly. So it's like you can go through all of the stuff, go through all of the steps, feel all of the things you need to feel, express it all, let it all out instead of shoving it down, and allow everything to come out into the light so you have this clear, clean slate that
Yeah.
brings in the things that you actually want in your life.
Yeah, and it's like you're saying, like all these different phases and stages and everything you've gone through. It's like you had to go through them at the t moments in time that you did, and all the learning and growth that you've had from it. Like you said, and now you've manifested and gone through all the stuff to where you are today is incredible.
Yes.
Yeah. And so with the work you do now, like who's your like ideal person that you would work with shadow work?
Women, I just really like working with women. I have nothing against men. If a man really does want to work with me, just chat and we'll see if we can figure something out. I haven't worked with as many men to know like the nuances and like I know how women think though,
Yeah.
and I understand what they're going through, and I can relate to a lot of things that they are experiencing. And so I really love helping women go through and like really find their purpose and understanding like we all have the same purpose, which is to be of service to others, but
Hmm.
like find the purpose that they're passionate about. What is it that they're so passionate about that lights them up, that like sets their soul on fire, that lets them really get feeling like them and fully embodied and authentic in who it is they are? I want to see them serve people in that way, and I want to lead them down that path. And sometimes it's going to take a while. Other
Hmm.
times it'll take a few months. It just depends on how dedicated and how willing you are to do the work, because this work is hard. It is challenging. You don't want to do it. There are times where I still sit down in front of a mirror and I'm like, I don't want to fucking do this right now.
Yeah.
And I still do it. I'll still get myself going, but I gotta complain about it for a hot minute before I do it, because guess what? Embodiment work sucks because you don't feel like that version of you. And as I continue down this path as well, I have started to again release the weight energetically and physically. And I'm in the process of combining both the energetic and the physical weight loss together. So,
That's fantastic. I love that story and like
mhm,
everything you've shared with us. I think a lot of women can relate to like different aspects and different ways of what you've gone through in the last 9 years too. And
mhm.
then now you're able to like lead in service and help women get through those traumas and things in the box and opening them up and diving into it. So that's fantastic. If someone wants to work with you, like how would they get in touch with you?
I would say Instagram would be best. Just follow me on Instagram. It's the healing arts, but it's underscore the underscore healing underscore arts.
Okay. And I'll put it in the description on the podcast too, so people can see it on there as well. So,
Awesome.
um, is there any other like words of wisdom, anything that you would like to share that you think could be valuable for people listening? Or someone just starting down this path or looking into it more?
I want to use an example from a preschool friend of mine from this past week. Um, I have a preschool friend who was very sad, and he was very clear in communicating how sad he was. And he was a lot, we, as you know, being in the preschool setting, we allowed him to feel what he needed to feel. We didn't ask him to not feel sad or to stop crying. We gave him the space to feel what he needed to feel. And he sat there and he still attempted to do his work. He still practiced his name. He still worked on the calendar. He still did everything he needed to do. But if I asked him a question, he would start crying because he was sad. And I gave him a hug when he said he needed a hug. We did all of that. And after about 15 minutes of that and just expressing that he was sad, he sat down at a table to work and he looked over and he said, "You know what?" And I said, "What?" "I'm happy now. The sad is gone." And I'm like, "That's awesome. I love that." And so, as a reminder to everyone, giving yourself the space to feel whatever it is you are feeling in that moment, be it sadness, be it anger, be it frustration, just allow yourself to express it. Because the more space you give yourself to express that feeling in the moment, the faster that feeling is going to move through your body, because emotions are energy in motion. They are quite literally energy. And if you continue to force it down and shove it away and put it in a box and make it a shadow,
Yep.
the more it's going to fester and the more it's going to affect you later on, and the more work you're going to have to do to express it, because that anger is just going to get angrier. That
Yeah.
sadness is just going to turn into depression. That frustration is going to eventually fester and become more frustration and possibly even a little anxiety. And so give yourself the space to feel what you need to feel in the moment. Allow it to move through you, because eventually it will be gone and you'll be happy now.
I love that. That's so good. Thank you for sharing that example. That's fantastic.
No problem.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think there's so many people that can benefit from your help and your work. And so, yeah, I'll be able to check you out on Instagram. And then if they have any questions, they can follow up with you on there. And yeah, thank you
Hmm.
for sharing your story. That's fantastic. Is there anything else you would like to finish off with?
No, I feel pretty good.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much for taking the time.
No problem.